you get to the end of the month, you're like, all right, well, I was planning on saving whatever is left. There's not much left. And so maybe we're moving $50 into a savings account, but you can do better. You know, your income should be sufficient to tackle these things and still put money into a savings. So not having clarity on where your money's going or what it's doing, not only is it stressful and might make you feel uneasy, but it's damaging your financial situation. This is Techie Personal Finance Bootcamp, where I help tech professionals take their financial confidence to the next level. I'm your host, Lucas Casarez, certified financial planner and founder of Level Up Financial Planning. I help folks in their early and mid careers actually get clarity on what all the stuff means: your RSUs, the stock options, employee stock purchase plan, 401ks, backdoor RAS, all these crazy things that you might have heard about, but aren't totally confident on how to tackle these things.
Disclaimer alert. This information's for education, so don't just go use it. First consult with your financial advisor, because that's way more legit. That's it.
That was Orlando Gomez, and you can catch him in season 3, episode 4 on how he broke into tech by writing a jingle. Thank you for joining Techie Personal Finance Bootcamp. This is episode 2 of season 8. Today, I'm going to be talking making 6 figures and still feeling broke. It's a common thing, so don't feel bad about it. But making 6 figures, is that enough to actually fund your goals and enjoy life and be able to do the things that you want to do? And we'll be able to tackle those things in depth today. So like I said, you're not alone if that's you, and 48.6% of folks earning over $100,000 still feel broke and feel like they're living paycheck to paycheck. And some of that is because they really are. And then some of it might be some things behind the scenes that I'll cover. They might apply to you, and maybe you are doing better than you think, but that doesn't change how you've been feeling right now. And so we'll make sure we get clarity on that. Even folks making over $200,000, 36% of them still report feeling broke. And as your income goes up, it helps a little bit more. But some of the core foundation pieces of your financial strategy is going to indicate, are you going to be successful at 100,000? If you're not going to be successful at 100,000, you might not be successful at 200,000 either, because you just find more ways to spend money. So speaking about finding more ways to spend money, these are the 4 reasons that you're still broke today, or at least feel like it. And so lifestyle inflation creeps up. I work with a ton of folks that are career changers, and their income jumped from 40,000 to 100,000 or 60,000 to 150,000. And then you start to get all these bonuses, these raises, the RSUs start to vest. And it's so much money there. You're like, it's impossible to spend as well. But lifestyle inflation tells us that a good majority of folks actually will find ways to spend it. And sometimes they put themselves in a worse spot. And so as your income grows, if you spend just as much as you're earning, just as much as those promotions and raises, that's going to be a little tricky to outrun and actually start to get ahead. So the thing I see is it's hard to know like how much of that money is really yours, right? You see $100,000 for your salary or $200,000 for your salary. Then you have all this other stuff going on with stock. That seems like a lot, but once we factor out some of the taxes, which takes a big bite out of them, you might not have as much spending power as you initially think. Some of my folks that live in high income state tax places like California, New York, if you're making a ton of income, there's a good chance that 50% of those raises, bonuses, and RSUs are already taxed. And so you're only getting half of that. So a $20,000 raise when you're in the highest tax brackets in those high income state tax estates, you're going to get 50% of that value that you see for the new rewards, the new stock that's hitting, the new bonuses. That catches a lot of people off guard. And that's why maybe your money is not going as far as you thought, is because taxes are accounting for between 30 and 50% of that income typically for the clients I work with. A third thing might be some of the past stuff. So maybe you're on good footing now, you're making a nice solid income, but you still got a few monkeys on your back from the past. So maybe it's student loan debt, maybe it's credit card debt, maybe you were laid off for an extended period of time and just went into debt, and now we're crawling out of it. So those things all add up: car payments, rent payments, mortgage payments. Some of these things are lifestyle. Some of them are just life things that happen to you. And there might be stuff spread out along the way, right? Where it's like, probably didn't need to do this. Might have done more than you should have at that point in time. The thing with debt obligations, or those are going with you right until we take care of them. So it's not something that we could say, "Oh, yeah, I just don't want a car payment anymore," and then we just make that disappear. And so debt obligations are real. We gotta figure out a plan to tackle them in the most efficient way as possible. Then the fourth one is just a lack of budgeting, not knowing where your money's going. So, yeah, your income's a huge amount, but if we're doing all these transactions, even if they're small transactions, they all add up and your money disappears, right? You get to the end of your month, you're like, all right, well, I was planning on saving whatever is left. There's not much left saved. And so maybe we're moving $50 into a savings account, but you can do better. You know, your income should be sufficient to tackle these things and still put money into savings. So not having clarity on where your money's going or what it's doing, not only is it stressful and might make you feel uneasy, but it's damaging your financial situation. So I hinted that maybe you're not broke. Maybe you just feel broke. It feels like you're living paycheck to paycheck because you're already doing a lot of good things. You already are protecting your finances against yourself by automating your savings. So maybe you got a savings account that automatically gets funded. That's building up every single month. Maybe you have investments that you're contributing to, and those are growing every single month. That could be your 401k. If you're maxing those things out, like that's a great start. And sometimes you might be surprised that maxing out your 401k might not be enough, and it depends on what your goals are, how late you got started, what resources you're working with. But yeah, there's things that you probably are doing that are helping you move closer to your goals, and it's helping you feel like you're living paycheck to paycheck because you're already sending these things out in good, positive directions so that they work for you. Employer stock, maybe those are just sitting there. I scared to touch it. I don't know what the tax situation is going to be. If I sell this, I don't know if it's smart to sell it. What if it goes up? So you might be holding on to employer stock and that's building up. And that's technically your money. It's yours. You can decide what you want to do with it. And if it's sitting there, even if it's sitting there by default, like technically you're saving it. So good job if you're surprising yourself and we're finding all these savings that you don't think about when you're thinking about month to month, living paycheck to paycheck. Another thing too that folks forget is maybe you did do a career transition. Maybe there's a lot of past historical things that we're needing to take care of, and you're aggressively paying down your debt. That's awesome. And you have to remember that debt, if you're aggressively paying it down, that's going to be gone here very soon. And then that transitions to savings. So even though it's not savings right now, we can start to project out like, hey, when is this extra $1,000 a month that we're paying extra on top of the normal payments to get out of this debt? When that's going to fall off? Because now that's not only the monthly payments that you've been paying out gets to get turned into savings, but the extra amount you're throwing at it too. And so that's a ton of money sometimes for folks that, yeah, they're cleaning things up, they're going in the right direction, but it just doesn't feel good, right? Because we're sending money out, doing these things, and it is great. All of these things are great if you're doing any one of them. And if sometimes it's a combination of those. So you might be doing way, way better than you realize. So that's why I always want to share this because sometimes it is to shed clarity on what you're not doing well, but also give you a high five and cheer you on when you're doing things right. And you definitely don't want to stress out if there's no reason to stress out, right? So getting clarity, understanding that all these things are just as good, if not better, than just a savings account or having extra money in your checking account at the end of the month because we're putting money in these other accounts. They count too. So here's rough ideas of strategy, guys, you can start to implement yourself. And there's some basic ones that almost everyone has done at some point or at least considered. And so there's the monthly strategy guide, which is basically a budget. So where is your money going on a month to month basis? How does it look this month? Is there a way that you can see if there's low value expenses that really aren't adding a ton of value to you that we can cut out? You can apply that towards savings or paying off debt and really getting ahead. And that's the benefit of the monthly one. Just getting clarity, heads down, focus on what's right in front of you. What can we do and how can we improve your finances on a monthly basis? And you'd be surprised, especially if you're in tech, especially if you're a high earner, how much money really is just going away and not adding that much value. But I've been working with the new clients. We went through their strategy guide. I guess it's been a few months since we got to the end of their strategy guide process. We highlighted, hey, you guys are doing pretty good. Like you should be pretty happy with things, but there's some stuff coming up. And this is where thinking annually and looking out to a complete strategy guide helps with the monthly side of things. But we built out their full strategy guide. They're doing good. They're on track. But knowing that student loans are going to kick on for them here in a couple months, They have goals of child expenses. They have goals of purchasing a different house, which will have a little bit higher payment. So we know that financially they're going to feel like they're living paycheck to paycheck here in a couple months if they don't start making different choices now, restructuring their finances. And they're like, you know what? We think we can save $3,000. When I just checked in with them a couple days ago, and they're like, yeah, like, and pretty easy. They've been doing it consistently for 3 months now, and not only that, they increased their retirement account contribution, so they're really saving 3,700 more dollars than they were saving previously. They looked bigger picture, saw what was going on, and these important goals had them dig into their monthly spending, be like, "Yeah, we don't need this," and now in the 3 months that they've been doing that, they have 9,000 extra dollars to go for home down payment. They have freer cash flow, less constraints, less stress over their finances. And yeah, they're making a ton of money, but they were finding ways to spend a ton of money and it wasn't adding a ton of value. And the last question I asked them about that situation is like, how does it feel? Does it feel like you guys are depriving yourselves? And they're like, no, not really at all. Is a little bit of an adjustment, probably the first month around eating out and just trying to have better habits. Once they got those things locked in, like now they just have really good habits. And so that's the benefits of looking out annually and seeing what is new stuff that's gonna be coming up, new goals coming up. What's their tax situation? So we just got done with their tax return. We know that we can decrease their tax withholding so that they get a little bit more in their paycheck, which means they can save faster towards their down payment instead of just waiting until next year to get the refund. So thinking annually helps too. Looking for things that don't happen every single month, that would be helpful too, because that's usually when people get thrown through a loop, right? If for some reason they have tax situation and they don't know that they're going to owe taxes and now they get a bill for $10,000, that might mean that they're going into debt. Where if you get ahead of that, if you project that out, you avoid that heart attack surprise of that huge tax bill. Then all the other things that tend to not be every single month. So sometimes car insurance is a 6 month or annual thing and you're not paying it monthly. When you get in a spot where you can do that and pay it in those big chunks, you usually save 8 to 10%. So there is savings by projecting out, having enough planning and resources to be able to tackle those things in big chunks. So if depending on how aggressive you want to be with your planning, definitely start monthly. Don't bite off more than you can chew. But yeah, annually is the next step. And then if you really want to get super comprehensive, which is where I think I add the most value for clients, is looking out at all those other milestones that people forget about and are just too hunkered down in the day to day to focus on, is looking at the big goals, big changes, making sure that you're on track for those things. And if not, let's course correct now. And those are all important. So lots of ways to optimize and benefit from long term planning as well. So, the risk of not taking action, you can continue feeling the same way you do now. You reinforce the bad habits that you have. And the longer you go with a certain lifestyle, thinking that you need all these things, even when you may not, like it's going to be harder to change that. It's particularly harder once you have partners and once you have family and children and things like that, because it's a lot easier for me to make the conscious decision like, hey, I'm going to spend better, not spend as much money on myself. It's a little bit harder when it's spending on other people or trying to tell my kids like, oh, we're not gonna get these Legos anymore. We're gonna stop doing those types of things. And same thing for my wife. Oh, we can't get the Yankee candles. Let's go and get candles from the dollar store or whatever. Like they're gonna be like looking at me like I'm crazy. And so try to get ahead of those habits, not instill bad habits, and that will help a ton. Avoiding burnout too, because right now a lot of folks feel like they can't change jobs, even if the job's not working well for them mentally, physically, fulfillment wise, and but they need that income, right? And so that's where like burnout is a very dangerous thing. If you control your financial situation and what you need, that gives you more flexibility to navigate career choices, career options, career changes, career breaks. So those are beneficial to avoiding burnout. I then layoffs with AI, and ever since COVID, really, we've seen huge swaths of layoffs all over the tech scene, and no one's immune to it. A lot of clients that I know are very great high performers, they've been included. Luckily, a good majority of them have been able to land on their feet fairly quickly. But I do know uh, clients and folks like can go months and sometimes a year or longer. And so get yourself positioned to be able to ride these things out, have the most flexibility. So those are the risks. I'm sure you're aware of them. You might have only been thinking about one thing or just how you feel today. Imagine how you'd feel with your financial situation on top of burnout, your financial situation on top of layoffs, like just a very horrible situation. And it could really blow up your whole financial situation and it'll take many years to recover. The best thing you can do is position yourself today to be in a good spot to navigate those. So, yeah, speaking about the benefits of taking action, your financial confidence overall will skyrocket, which will lower your stress. It'll improve your relationships with your family and loved ones, all the people you care about. You'll have more career flexibility. If debt is a big component of your finances right now, you're probably paying a lot of interest for just having that debt, where most of those things are paid off. All that interest money now gets to go towards vacations, gets to go towards compounding for your own investments, throwing into savings, building emergency savings, any other goals that are important to you. You'll feel more confident about navigating those. You'll feel really great once you start to hit these different milestones. And ultimately, like why I call my business level up financial planning is because I think you can control your finances. It's not easy. It's definitely hard, especially early in your career or deciding that, hey, all the financial chaos, you're not for that anymore. You actually want to be in control and be able to create your own chaos because you feel like you're in control of your situation by switching careers, certain businesses. Got a lot of clients doing fun and cool stuff like that. But the only ones that are able to do that are the ones that have their financial situation in a good controlled place with reasonable expenses that they can navigate so that they can do all those cool things. Lots of benefits of taking action. If any of these stand out to you, just bake that in, make sure that's something that you know and you tell yourself is important to you. And then you'll set yourself up and achieve your goals, make the changes because changes are hard. Let's anchor these things with important goals, important things that are valuable to you so that you do start to move forward and take that action. Hopefully, this helps you take your financial confidence to the next level. The best thing you can do is start today. Maybe it's just going through and starting to kind of hunt down your financial details so you can get it all in one place, get organized. You're like, oh, maybe you are saving in a 401k and a Roth and all these different places. Even if you don't have to budget or look at your stuff on a monthly basis, getting organized and getting that clarity might be all you need to be like, dang, super valuable to check out the podcast episode. But then also, just what does that mean for your life moving forward? If you just feel a little bit lighter, less financial constraints, less financial stress, how are you show up for yourself, your family, your work, and how can that kind of compound and take yourself to the next level in ways that are outside of your finances just because you're feeling good, really good about your financial situation. If you have any questions, if you need help getting yourself organized, knowing if you're on the right track, maybe there is a lot of just financial basics where you're like, I just don't even know where to start. I don't know where that first step is. Reach out to me. We'll see if it's a good fit to work together. I'll give you a couple pointers and hopefully we can address a few things that give you some confidence to start taking action and start putting one foot in front of the other so that 5 years from now, you're like, yep, I'm glad I started moving in the right direction so that you're in position, you're happier with everything that the finances could be an impact on. So thanks for checking this out. Let me know if you know anyone that would be a great guest to come on the show to talk about their tech career or any topics that you want to see the rest of the year.
Thank you so much for listening to Techie Personal Finance Bootcamp. You can find show notes by visiting levelupfinancialplanning.com and finding the podcast page. You'll also be able to find strategy guides, videos, and cheat sheets to help you take your financial confidence to the next level. If you feel this episode has added a ton of value for you, please rate and share this with friends and colleagues. Catch you next time on Techie Personal Finance Bootcamp.